there. No problem. We'll get started. I hope you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
So you attended yesterday's class? Yesterday, I think you didn't attend.
No.
Okay.
I had
So,
school till 4.
okay, I get it. So I completed till topic number 2, that is problems based on Biot-Savart law and Ampere's circuit law. Okay, listen. So today we'll be doing problem based on magnetic force on current carrying wires. So you know the formula, right? So what is the magnetic force acting on a current carrying wire?
Mu naught by 4 pi ideal by.
It's not mu naught by 4 pi. No? There is no mu naught by 4 pi. You're talking about the force between two current carrying conductors. F is equal to BIL sine theta, or F vector is I into L vector cross B vector. So these are the formulas. Similarly, if you talk about two parallel current carrying conductors, let's say they are carrying current I1 and I2 and the distance of separation between them is D, then the force per unit length between them is given as mu naught divided by 2 pi into I1, I2, the whole divided by D. Okay. So this is force per unit length. If you need to calculate the force, you need to take the length and multiply it on the other side. So F will be equal to mu naught I1, I2 divided by 2 pi D into L. Okay. Just a minute, no? Okay. So this is the formula based on which we are going to solve the problems. And one more important point, this you would have learned in CBSE also, right? We would have discussed it. If the currents are flowing in the same direction, the conductors tend to get attracted. If they are flowing in the opposite direction, they repel. That is the only important point you need to have in your mind. So you have the sheet, right? Yesterday I shared it in the group. So there are two wires A and B which are carrying currents I1 and I2 as shown in the figure. The separation between them is D. A third wire C carrying a current I is kept parallel to them at a distance x from A, such that the net force acting on it is 0. The possible values of x are. Here, if you observe, the question is not possible value. They are asking the possible values of x because they told a third wire C carrying a current I is kept parallel to them at a distance x from A. It can be at a distance x either from the right side of A or left side of A also. So with respect to this diagram, what is happening? They have told it is right side. So it's a slightly misguiding factor. You need to be careful about it. Okay. The third conductor is placed in such a way that what condition is being satisfied?
Net force on the wire is 0.
Such that the net force on the C is 0. So the net force on C will act due to A and B. So can I write it like this? The force between AC should be equal to the force between BC. Can I write it like this?
Yes.
Okay. Now try to apply the formula and tell me what you are going to get. Write only in terms of magnitude. Mu naught, let's say the current here is I. I1, I the whole divided by 2 pi into x is equal to mu naught I2 into I divided by 2 pi into d minus x. So 2 pi gets cancelled. Mu naught I gets cancelled. So I1 into d minus x is equal to mu naught is also gone. I2 into X, which implies I1D minus I1X is equal to I2X, which implies X is equal to I1D the whole divided by I1 plus I2. There is one such possible value. All right. Next, had the conductor C been on the left hand side, what would have happened? X, this distance will be D. Right. Now tell me, mu naught I1 I the whole divided by 2 pi x is equal to mu naught I2 I the whole divided by D plus x. So mu naught I gets cancelled. 2 pi is there. So 2 pi also gets cancelled. So I1 into D plus x is equal to I2 into x, which implies I1 minus I2 with a negative sign into x is equal to I1 into D. Yes. So which implies x is equal to minus I1D divided by I1 minus I2. Let this be second equation. So first one is I1D divided by I1 plus I2. Second one is minus I1D divided by I1 minus I2. So what will be the answer? X will be equal to plus or minus I1D divided by I1 minus I2. So this is the required answer. So do we have an option like this? Plus or minus I1D divided by I1 minus I2. I hope the problem is clear.
Yes.
Okay.
So like the first answer we got was I1D by I1 plus I2, right?
Okay. Oh, here it should be I1D. Okay. Did I make any mistake? Yes. This I1 minus I2. Because I2 comes this side, I1 goes this side. No, it is plus only, correct? Huh?
Yes, sir. It's plus
Okay.
only.
Then I should have done it in this way. I made a mistake. Then I should have taken the net force to be equal to 0. If I take the net force to be equal to 0, what will I get? If I take something like this to be equal to 0, then I would have got this as minus I2x minus I2x. Then this will be right. Similarly, here also if I take the net force to be equal to 0. Okay, let me retry it. Since they use the word net force. And one more important point is they didn't mention anything about the direction of current in the second wire, right? That is the direction of current in the third wire. So that is not given means let's try to solve it in a different way. Just a minute. See, listen. So what is going to be the direction of magnetic field due to the first conductor at point C? So one thing, let us try to understand it like this, okay? Forget about this I. Due to I1, what is the direction of magnetic field at point C? It is going to be into the plane. I hope you know that point, right? Similarly, due to B also, it is into the plane at point C. So what we did here is we added both the forces because the magnetic field is acting in the same direction, irrespective of the direction of the current in C. Whereas in this case, Due to the current carrying conductor A, what is going to be the direction of magnetic field at point C? It will be out of the plane, and due to B, it will be into the plane. So, since the magnetic fields are in the opposite direction, the force tend to cancel out each other in the sense FAC minus FBC will be equal to 0. If I take them in the vector form, see FA vector plus this thing, if I take it like this, FAC it is in the outward direction, then FBC will be in the reverse direction. This will be equal to 0. Then what will happen? Mu naught I1 I the whole divided by X is equal to mu naught I2 I the whole divided by D plus X with a 2 pi here. So 2 pi gets cancelled, mu naught I. Now if you solve, I think you will get X is equal to minus I1D the whole divided by I1 minus I2. Are you clear with the logic? So what you're supposed to do is, to solve these kind of problems, we need to first take the direction of magnetic field, and based on that, we will have to understand whether whether the forces are going to get added or subtracted. Okay. So this is the answer. I plus or minus I1D divided by I1 minus I2. Next. Shall we go to the next one?
Yes.
Now try this out. There is a circular coil having n turns and radius r carries a current I. It is held in the XZ plane in the magnetic field which is in the direction of I, that is Bi cap. The torque on the coil due to the magnetic field is. So how to calculate? What is the formula for torque? So for the second problem, what is the formula for torque now?
Magnetic moment cross magnetic field.
Yes. M vector cross B vector, right? So what is the value of M vector? They told XZ plane. So one thing is clear, XZ plane and X direction are mutually perpendicular to each other. So XZ plane. And this will be perpendicular. Okay. And the number of turns is given as N. So what is the formula for magnetic dipole moment? Can I write torque as mb sin theta also? So magnetic dipole moment is N into I into A. That is nothing but N into I into pi r square. And B is B only. And theta is 90 degrees. So what is the value of torque? Ni pi r square multiplied with B. Is there an option like this?
B.
It's option B. Okay. Next. We'll do the fourth one. So do the fourth one, tell me. No? So there are two long current carrying thin wires, both with current I are held by an insulating thread of length L and are in equilibrium as shown in the figure, with the threads making an angle theta with the vertical. If the wires have mass per unit length, then the value of I is how much? Value of I means the value of current is how much? How to proceed? They have used the word too long. Long means we can treat them like infinitely long. So whenever you see the word long, no, you cannot calculate the force. Rather, you can only calculate the force per unit length. Okay. Both with current I are held by insulating threads of length L. Okay. Okay. So did you understand the question here? Actually, I was thinking that this is the wire. These are not the wires. These are the threads. Where are the wires? The spherical structure is given, right? These are the wires. Means the current can be taken into the plane. You're only able to see the cross-sectional view of that particular wire. So if I take one particular wire alone, then what is going to be the force acting on that wire? The force acting on the wire will be in opposite direction. Did they say current is flowing in the same direction? They didn't mention it. I'm assuming that the current is flowing in the same direction, so they have to repel. Similarly, so here, observe. The force is going to be in the leftward direction. There will be a tension, mechanical force that is acting here, tension. And there is weight acting downwards. So what is the weight of the object? If the mass per unit length is lambda, then I can write it as lambda into L into G. Okay. So lambda into L into G. Then this is going to be theta. T cos theta, T sin theta. Since they use the word equilibrium, what are all the forces that are balanced? F is balanced by T sin theta, and T cos theta is balanced by lambda into L into G. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, how to find the force? Between the two parallel wires, what is the distance of separation in this problem? So, if I take this as d by 2, what is d by 2 divided by L equal to? Is it not equal to sine theta? So, d will be equal to 12 sine theta. Right? Now, see, force is mu naught I1 I2. So, I square divided by 2 pi into the distance of separation between them, which is nothing but 2L sine theta. So what did I write? Mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi L is not force. Rather, what is it? It is the force per unit length. So this thing multiplied with L will give me the force. This is equal to T sine theta. Puridama? Similarly, lambda into L into G is T cos theta. What is our work? We need to find out what is the value of I. So divide both the expressions. What are you going to get? Mu naught I square divided by 4 pi L into sine theta divided by lambda into G will be equal to tan theta, which implies I square is equal to 4 pi L sine theta into tan theta divided by lambda mu naught G. Check if there is any value that is getting cancelled.
So
Not I
can we
square
take
by
mu
4.
naught by 4 pi as 10 per minute?
Yeah, you can, but are they expecting something like that? How is the final answer given? I don't think that mu naught is disturbed, no. So what we can do is, see, sine theta into tan theta is nothing but sine square theta divided by cos theta. So I will be square root of that value. So square root of 4 is 2. 2 sine theta into under root of pi into L divided by lambda into mu naught into g cos theta. This should be the expression. Is there an option like this? 2 sine theta into, where is it? 2 sine theta into square root of lambda pi into L divided by lambda into mu naught. I think lambda will go up, right? Yes, lambda g should actually go up now. So lambda into g by mu naught cos theta. Is there an option? Lambda gl divided, I think it is a. Yes, that's the answer. But did you understand the concept? Are you able to differentiate the factor where you need to apply force per unit length and where to apply force? So remember, the thumb rule here is mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi into distance of separation is only going to give you the force per unit length, but that value has to be multiplied with unit length to get the force experienced by the conductor. Okay, since they use the word long, it is impossible for us to multiply it with infinity. You cannot do that. So what we do is, on the wire you take a small length L and multiply that L with the force per unit length. That will give you the exact value of force. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is all. So this is all about the force per unit length. Remaining problems you can try. We'll do some problems which are based on magnetic dipole. Okay, this magnetic dipole, we'll do magnetic dipole based on only this current carrying conductors, not based on the magnets. So we'll start with second one. Read the question and tell me how you're supposed to do. So there is a square loop which is carrying a steady state current of I, and magnitude of its magnetic dipole moment is M. If the square loop is changed to a circular loop and it carries the same current, the magnitude of the magnetic dipole moment of the current of the circular loop is how much? How to find? So magnetic dipole moment is given as the product of I into area. So what is the case 1? In case 1, what is the magnetic dipole moment? M is equal to I into, tell me. Let the side of the square be small a. Can I write it as I into a square? Let this be equation number 1. And that value is already given as M. What is case 2? M dash will be I into, what is going to be the area of the circular loop? That is pi r square. But what is the value of r? We know that 2 pi r is equal to 4a. So I into 4a square divided by pi square into pi. Cancel. Right? I into a square is m. So 4m divided by pi should be the answer, and this one is the answer. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next. Let's try out the next problem. I think this is slightly tough. Third one. Try it out. There is an insulating thin rod of length L which has a charge density, linear charge density of rho x is equal to rho naught into x divided by L. The rod is rotated about an axis passing through the origin and perpendicular to the rod. If the rod makes small n rotations per second, then the time averaged magnetic moment of the rod is how much? So how do we find it? So there is an insulating thin rod which has a linear charge density of rho naught into x divided by L. The rod is rotated about an axis passing through the origin. So this point is taken as the origin. So it is revolved in the direction perpendicular to the rod. If the rod makes n rotations per second, then what is going to be the magnetic dipole moment of the rod? Just time averaged. So how do we proceed? See, these kind of problems, how are we supposed to proceed? That I've told many times. Look at the question, you will get the idea. You're having a function. So when you have a function, then we need to involve calculus, right? So for us to involve calculus, what we need to do is we need to take a small current carrying element and then proceed. Because I could have directly written the answer as I into A, where A is going to be the area that is going to be swept by this rod. I could have directly written it provided the current was uniform. The current here is not going to be uniform because of its linear density, linear charge density varying from point to point. It is time dependent. It is distance dependent. So we need to consider a point from the axis of rotation, let's say at a distance x, and whose thickness is dx, such that there is a small current carrying element di that is present here. Okay. Now, if the magnetic dipole moment due to the small portion dx is dm. Okay, if I take it like this, then what is going to be the value of dm? Dm I can confidently write it as di into a, because in the small portion that I have considered, the current value is going to be constant. Correct? Now dm is equal to, what is the value of di? See, di is nothing but dq divided by dt. But what is the value of dq? Can I call it as n times dq? Or see, n into dq divided by dt. But what is the number of rotations per time? Number of rotations per time is written as small n. So I can write it as small n into dq. So di is equal to small n into dq into a. I'll call this as capital A. I'm sorry. Any doubt till this step? I'm assuming it is clear. So dm is equal to n into, in the place of dq, what can I write as? Can I write it as rho into dx? Because rho is nothing but dq divided by dx. So dq is equal to rho into dx. So n into, what is the value of rho? It is rho naught divided by L multiplied with x, and you have another dx here. This whole thing multiplied with, what is going to be the area swept by this small current carrying element? What will be the area of this portion? Is it not pi into x square? So dm is equal to this thing. So go through till this step. If there is any doubt, get it clarified. Okay. So I hope it is clear again. So this is the value of the magnetic dipole moment due to the small current carrying element. Then the total magnetic dipole moment, can I write it as integral of dm, where x is the variable. X is varying from where to where? 0 to the length of the conductor. N into rho naught into x cube, or n into rho naught into pi x cube, okay, into dx, the whole divided by L, with an integral from 0 to L. So take out all the constants. Rho naught pi n divided by L into integral of x cube dx is nothing but x power 4 by 4 from 0 to L. So it is rho naught pi n divided by 4 into L cube. So this is going to be the final answer. Is there an option like this? Rho naught pi n divided by 4 L cube. Rho naught, it should have been rho naught. Okay. I think this fourth one. Is it clear? Did you guys understand what are all the steps to be followed? So wherever function is getting involved, you definitely need to consider a small current carrying element and then proceed. Guys, yes or no?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you show the last step? Yes.
Okay. So fourth one is even more tougher. I'm not doing it. That's slightly to the level of advance. Let's do the fifth one. Try this. No? The dipole moment of a circular loop carrying a current I is M, and the magnetic field at the center of the loop is B1. When the dipole moment is doubled by keeping the current constant, the magnetic field at the center of the loop is B2. Then B1 by B2 is how much? So what is the magnetic dipole moment due to a current carrying conductor of current carrying loop? Is it not I into pi r square? So one. So when that magnetic dipole moment is doubled by keeping the current constant, then what other parameters should have been changed? The radius should have been changed, right? So if I call r dash, then r dash will be how much? Let's substitute all the values and see. No? I into pi r square multiplied with 2 is equal to I into pi r dash square. Gone. So r dash is equal to root 2 times r. So let this be equation number 2. Now, what is the magnetic field at the center of a current carrying loop? It is mu naught I divided by 2r. B2 is equal to mu naught I divided by 2 times r dash. Then what is B1 by B2? R dash divided by r. Root 2r divided by r. Answer is root 2 is to 1. Right? So this is all about magnetic dipole moment. The next part is magnetism. That is your 5th chapter. Okay, this we can see tomorrow. Before that, what we will do is we will do some problems based on galvanometer. So with respect to a moving coil galvanometer, what are all the parameters involved in it? So one of the formula that you're supposed to know is current sensitivity. So what do we mean by current sensitivity? The amount of deflection that is produced when unit current is passed through the galvanometer. Okay. So current sensitivity is represented by the symbol IS. It is given by the expression theta divided by I, which is nothing but NBA divided by K, where N is the number of turns, B stands for magnetic field intensity, A stands for area of cross section, and K stands for the restoring torque per unit twist. Okay. Similarly, what do we mean by voltage sensitivity? The reflection produced per unit voltage applied across the ends of a galvanometer is what we call it as voltage sensitivity. So it is given by the symbol theta divided by V. That is nothing but NBA divided by K times R, where R is going to be the resistance. So here it is actually capital R. So capital R is the resistance of the galvanometer. Okay. So for a galvanometer to be sensitive, what are all the parameters to be satisfied? N should be large, B should be large, A should be large, and K should be small. Means the numerator value should be large and the denominator value should be small. Next is, how will you convert a galvanometer into an ammeter? So for a galvanometer to be converted to an ammeter, you need to connect a shunt resistance, right? Shunt means a parallel resistor to the existing galvanometer's resistance. And what should be the value of the shunt resistance? It should be Ig into capital G divided by I minus I into G. The expression can be derived easily. See, let's say the ammeter is supposed to measure the total current of I. Then when you connect a shunt resistance, what will happen is I minus Ig will flow through S, and Ig, that is a full scale deflection current, Ig will always pass through the galvanometer. So if I take these points as xy and this point as x dash and y dash, the potential drop across xy is nothing but Ig into capital G, and the potential drop across x dash y dash is nothing but I minus Ig into S. So S is how much? Ig into capital G divided by I minus Ig. Okay. Similarly, if you have to convert a voltmeter into a galvanometer into a voltmeter, what are we supposed to do? Take a galvanometer and connect a series resistor of high value to it so that it gets converted. So the whole combination is what is called as a voltmeter. Suppose the potential drop to be measured across the point A and B is V, then how much should be the current that is flowing through the galvanometer? It should always be Ig, that is full scale deflection current. So potential difference measured as V is equal to Ig into capital G plus R, because G and R are in series. So what will be the value of capital R that you need to connect? It will be V divided by Ig minus G. So have this in your mind. This is also an important formula. Clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's do some problems. Sixth, the galvanometer deflection when key K1 is closed but K2 is open equals theta naught. On closing K2 and adjusting R2 to 5 ohm, the deflection of the galvanometer becomes theta naught divided by 5. The resistance of the galvanometer is given by how much? See, did you guys do an experiment in the lab in the name of figure of merit? Did you do something like that?
We are yet to do so.
Okay, but you know that there is an experiment like that, right? So figure of merit is nothing but the reciprocal of the current sensitivity. So when you do that figure of merit experiment, you will do something like this only. So what happened with respect to the initial deflection? How much has the deflection decreased? It became 1/5 of its original value, right? Whereas when you do in the lab, it will become half of its original value. That's what we call it as half-scale deflection. Okay, I'm just trying to relate both so that when you do the experiment, you will understand it better. So let's try to analyze what the circuit has. So the circuit has what? It has a resistor R1, which is 220 ohm. And there is another resistor R2, which is, okay, it is adjusted to 5 ohm, means it's a rheostat actually. So there are two keys, K1 and K2. Now both are in open condition. Now what they're doing is, they're closing the K1 key. Then what will happen to the current? The current will go through R1 and it will pass through the galvanometer, and again it will go like this and come off, because this part will be an open circuit. Right? That time, what they're trying to say is, the deflection shown by the galvanometer, if I call it as theta naught, let's say it has gone to 20 divisions and it is stopping. Now what they're doing is, on closing K2 also, now K1 is not open. Okay, try to understand. K1 is not open. Now they are closing K2 also and adjusting the value of R2 to how much? 5 ohm. Now they are observing the deflection in the galvanometer. It becomes 1/5 of its original value. If these kind of conditions are satisfied, then what is the value of the galvanometer that comes out? Are you guys clear with the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's try to solve this. I guess it should be a slightly lengthy problem. Okay. So what is the principle on which this theta naught works? We know that the full scale deflection current in the galvanometer, if I call it as Ig, then Ig is directly proportional to the amount of deflection it is producing. Right? This concept is known to us. Smaller the value of the Ig, more smaller is going to be the deflection. So Ig is the current through the coil of the galvanometer that is directly proportional to theta. If I remove the proportionality symbol, then we can introduce a constant C into theta. Okay, so have this in your mind. This is not a formula. This is how we have obtained. I hope you understood the logic. So galvanometer is a sensitive device, right? Now tell me, when key 1 is closed, isn't the circuit going to look like this? R1 and only G. Did they give the value of the potential difference? No. So let's assume the potential difference is V. This is 220 ohm. And let's assume the galvanometer's resistance is, let's take it as RG. Or you can simply take it as G also. Okay. Now, what should be the value of the current that is supplied by this battery? So I always tell you, right, what should be the current that is flowing through the galvanometer? It is Ig. Since 220 and Rg are in series, whatever is the current that is allowed to flow through the galvanometer will be the same amount of current through the 220 ohm also. Right? So when I apply Ohm's law, what do I get? V is equal to Ig into 220 plus Rg. Accepted? So V is equal to, what is the value of Ig? It is C into theta into 220 plus Rg. What is our work? We need to find the value of Rg. So how many unknowns are actually there? So this equation has two unknowns. What are they? Here it is C into theta naught. What are the two unknowns, guys? Not two, three. V, C, and Rg. Three unknowns. So you cannot solve it. So let this be equation number 1. Now they have given another condition. R2, G, the same potential source, V. Now tell me that. Now, is it possible for you to calculate the current through the galvanometer alone? Because the whole concentration is on the galvanometer only. 220 ohm. This is 5 ohm. Let's say this is Rg. Let's say the current is I. Then the current will get split into two parts. Let me call this as Ig dash, and here let me call it as I minus Ig. Tell me, is it possible? Is it possible for you to calculate the value of current through, that is Ig dash, in terms of V 225 and Rg? So for that, what we will do is, let's say I is equal to how much? V divided by R equivalent. Tell me, what is R equivalent? V divided by 220 plus 220 plus 5 into Rg divided by 5 plus Rg. That is the total current. Right? Now, can I write Ig dash is equal to total current into opposite resistance divided by sum of resistances? Because this 5 ohm and Rg, how are they? They both are in parallel, correct? They both are in parallel connection. Now, what is the total current that is flowing through the circuit? V divided by 220 plus 5 times Rg divided by 5 plus Rg into, what is the opposite resistance to Rg? That is 5, the whole divided by 5 plus Rg. So what should be the value of Ig dash, guys? When Ig is C theta, Ig dash, is it not supposed to be equal to C into theta naught divided by 5? So let this be. So from this, what we can do is, I'll take V from the first one and substitute it in the second one. C into theta naught into 220 plus Rg, the whole divided by 220 into 5 plus Rg plus 5 times Rg divided by 5 plus Rg into 5 divided by 5 plus Rg. So this and this will get cancelled. This is equal to C theta naught divided by 5. So C theta naught and C theta naught are gone, which implies, now tell me guys, 1100 plus 5 times Rg, the whole multiplied with 5 is equal to 1100 plus 220 Rg plus 5 Rg. So that implies 5,500 plus 25 Rg is equal to 1,100 plus 225 Rg. So 4,400 is equal to 200 times Rg, cancel. So what is the value? Is there an option? It's slightly a lengthy problem, but it's a good one.
Sir, what did you do in the second case?
I'm asking now this one.
Yes, sir. I didn't understand.
You should have asked. No, I asked twice. Did you understand? So Ig dash is what? My interest is to find out what is the value of Ig dash. The reason why I'm doing it is because I want my answer to be in terms of theta naught. So it is Ig, the only parameter, that is the current through the galvanometer, is the only parameter that is related to deflection. Did you understand this diagram?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, 2 ohm resistor, 3 ohm resistor. Okay. Let's say the total current flowing here is 5. If I ask you what is the current through the 3 ohm resistor, what will you say? Total current multiplied with opposite current, that is 2, opposite resistor divided by 2 plus 3. Did you understand what I told? So whenever you know the value of, see, listen to this carefully. If you don't know, learn this method. Whenever you know the total current that is flowing through the circuit, if suppose you're dividing them into two parts, let's say I1 and I2, where I1 and I2 are the currents through only two parallel resistors. This is applicable only for two. Okay. Then if I want to find the value of I2, then I will take the total current, multiply, for I2 I'll multiply with the resistor in the opposite direction, that is 2 divided by, I'll add both the resistors which are in parallel. It will get cancelled, it will be 2. Similarly, what will be the value of I1 using the same logic? Tell me. Total current into
3 by 2 plus 3.
So 2 plus 3 is how much? Is it not 5?
Yes, sir.
Using the same logic only, I did it. So what I did is, I found the total current by using what? Ohm's law. V is the battery divided by R equivalent is how much? 200 plus 5 plus Rg. Correct? Sorry, plus 5 into Rg divided by 5 plus Rg. Ena 5 and Rg are in parallel. Idu purinjada? So once I got the total current, Ig is acting like the 3 ohm resistor which I told you now. That is total current multiplied with opposite resistor, that is 5 divided by sum of the resistors, 5 plus Rg. And the total current is obtained here. V divided by 200 plus 5 plus Rg. This whole thing is nothing but the new deflection current. That is C into theta naught by phi. Using this logic. புரியுதாமா?
Yes.
Okay. After that, what I did is, in the V irukku pathia, I took the V value from the first thing and I substituted it here. That is why I wrote it in the numerator. Then remaining part is mathematical calculations.
Yes, sir.
Got it? So try this problem again. It's a very good problem. So ensure you mark it as important and try it again. Okay, now let's go to the next problem. Another galvanometer based problem. Let's do this. There is a galvanometer having a resistance of 20 ohm and 30 divisions on both sides, has a figure of merit of 0.005 ampere per division. Okay, so if it is division per ampere, current sensitivity, ampere per division, figure of merit. The resistance that should be connected in series such that it can be used as a voltmeter up to 15 volt is how much? Simple. So what is the formula? V is equal to Ig multiplied with
R plus G.
R plus Rg. Okay. So this is what they're asking us. So V is how much? 15 is equal to Ig is the full scale deflection current. So how many divisions are there? 30 divisions. Correct? So the figure of merit is 0.005. So if I multiply 0.005 with 30, what is it going to give me? It will give me the full scale deflection current. So 0.005 multiplied with 30 into R plus Rj, that is 20. So 0.005 means 5 divided by 100, 1000. So 15 is equal to 5 divided by 1000 into 30 into R plus 20. Okay, 0 gets cancelled. 5 times 5 and 5 are gone. So 100 is equal to R plus 20. R evlo? 80. Simple. So this is a CBSE level problem. See, depends, okay? Question paper depends. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Hmm. 13th one. When a current of 5 milliampere is passed through a galvanometer having a coil of resistance 15 ohm, so Rg is 15 ohm, then it has a full scale deflection. So Ig of power law, it is 5 milliampere. The value of the resistance that needs to be put in series with the galvanometer to convert it to a voltmeter of range 10. So V is equal to Ig into R plus Rg. So 10 is equal to Ig 5 into 10 power minus 3 into R plus Rg is 15. So 2000 is equal to R plus 15. So R is equal to 2000 minus 15 is 1985. So 1.985 into 10 power 3 ohm. Okay. Next. You guys try this, no? These are helpful for your CBSE problems also. Do it fast. So there is a galvanometer having a coil resistance of 100 ohm. Gives a full scale deflection when a current of 1 milliampere is passed through it. The value of the resistance which can convert this galvanometer into an ammeter of full scale deflection for current of 10 ampere. So Ig into Rg should be equal to I minus Ig into S. Solve பண்ணி சொல்லுங்க, what is the answer? What is the answer? No? Ig, that is 10 power minus 3 into Rg, that is 100, is equal to I minus Ig, that is 10 minus 10 power minus 3 into S.
What is it? 0.1.
0.1, that is option C.
Yes.
Option ana B irukuma, sorry, A irukku, 0.01 irukku. Check your calculations.
Yes, sir. It's it.
A, right? The reason is they use the word, I think you have to do an approximation because 10 minus 10 power minus 3 is approximately 10 only. So S will be equal to 1 divided by 100, that is 0.01. Next. So we'll do one last problem and we can wind up. So try this. So there is a moving coil galvanometer of resistance 100 is used to as an ammeter of resistance 0.1 ohm. The maximum deflection current in the galvanometer is 100 microampere. Find the current in the circuit so that the ammeter shows maximum deflection. So what is the formula, guys? Ig into Rg is equal to I minus Ig into S. So Ig is how much? 100 into 10 power minus 6. Rg is 100 is equal to I is what we need to find minus 100 into 10 power minus 6 into shunt resistance is how much? 0.1. So 10 power minus 4 into 10 square is equal to I minus 10 power minus 4 into 10 power minus 1. That comes the other side. So 10 power 3. So 10 power minus 1 is equal to I minus 10 power minus 4. So I will be equal to 10 power minus 4 plus 10 power minus 1. So 10 power minus 4 is 0.0001 plus 0.1. So 0.1001 iruk option. Or I can write it as 1.001 into 10 power minus 3 ampere. This is milliampere, 1.001 milliampere. Sorry, 100.1. 100.1 irukka? 19A is the answer. Did you guys understand? So that is all about galvanometer, magnetic dipole moment, and parallel current carrying conductors. Okay. So tomorrow we'll start with magnetism. That is how to deal with bar magnets. We'll do it tomorrow. By tomorrow we can complete. Then we'll go to the EMI part. Okay. So till then, keep practicing. If there is any doubt, you can approach me. Okay. So we